everyone to the Penny Stamps Distinguished Speaker Series. And thank you, Andrew, on the Barton organ today. Yeah, Andrew Rogers. My name's Christina Hamilton, the series director, and I have good news. March is behaving just as it should. It has come in like a lion, and we hope it stays on course, and it will go out like a lamb. I do feel that the Ides of March is coming up next week, and we are in a transitional space. We find ourselves transitional on many fronts. As spring is inching towards us, a clear sign is we spring forward on Sunday. Don't forget to move your clocks ahead. And transitions beg transformations. Well, we're in luck today, as our guest today is someone who transforms. Today we present a special seed, truly a man for all seasons, sculptor, jewelry maker, portraitist, performance artist, and scene maker, Andrew Logan. Yeah, you guys should be super excited because you're in for a treat. Yeah, that's it. You guys should warm up a little bit. I guess it got cold out there. I want to thank our partners for their support of today's program, the Institute for the Humanities and the Chelsea River Gallery and Michigan Radio 91.7 FM. Just two brief announcements before we get started. For art and design students in our midst, Make-a-thon is coming up next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend at the Duderstadt. And their registration is still open, but it closes a week from today. Make-a-thon is a 36-hour design and prototyping competition, and there are two top prizes of $500 in cash on the table, and additional prizes available from Arts Engine and In Situ for socially engaged design. Registration open one more week. Sign up on the web by going to the Facebook page Empowered Make-a-thon. The other announcement is, if you have not wandered into the new 8,000 square foot Stamps Gallery just around the corner on Division Street between Washington and Liberty, tomorrow provides a great opportunity with an exhibition opening reception tomorrow, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, in celebration of Pathways, the Stamps graduate thesis exhibitions showcasing works of Stamps MFAs and the MDes program integrative design candidates. Refreshments will be served. And brief remarks at 6 o'clock by Stamp School Dean Guna Natarajan. Today, we are going to have our regular Q&A. It may be the only regular thing we do today, but we will have the regular Q&A directly following Andrew's talk here in the screening room. Exit the theater to the left down the hallway and you'll find the screening room. You can meet him there. And now for a proper introduction of our guest today. Realizing that many of you may not be aware of the work of Andrew Logan, I promise you that you are keenly aware of the work of many, many artists that he has influenced and encouraged. A perfect illustration of this can be found in Brian Eno's description of him that we included in our calendar when he said, one of those rare people with the ability to bring out in others their sense of creativity and curiosity. So to be sure to properly position for you the importance of this man, I decided to invite someone whose words would truly carry weight with you. So today we have another special guest, a special guest introducer who has traveled a long way to be here with us to deliver her insight and perspective, a very dear friend of the Penny Stamp series, and the woman who introduced me to Andrew's work. Please join me in welcoming fashion world icon, the princess of punk herself, a bona fide dame that is a commander of the British Empire, the one, the only Zandra Rhodes.
Well, what a lovely welcome. Thank you. Well, for me, there's only one Andrew Logan, and he's the king of glass and mirror. His work graces not only my home, but also my body, and I've been wearing his jewels exclusively for years. He sees inspiration in everything around him. I was introduced to him by a wonderful painter friend of mine, Dougie Field, who also I don't feel has had his work acknowledged enough. And he told me to come to this very remote part of London I think it was 1972, but Andrew can correct me in a minute, for Andrew's first alternative Miss World. And it was in the back of Beyond, and I drove there and I could hardly get in, and the judges were David Hockney and all sorts of wonderful people. And remember, you're talking about 1972, so anyone could compete. It could be men, women, whatever. So it was an amazing happening. And it was soon after this that our real friendship began. Since then, I have made, you'll be seeing the films, but his costume is half man and half woman. So since then, I have made his costumes for that. I'm not very good at speaking, but I'm trying to do the right things here. Thank you. Andrew's whole life is one whole creative experience, and we gradually got to know each other. First of all, I was offered a trip to Australia, first class around the world, and I could take someone with me, and I took Andrew, and we had the most wonderful experience. That was during my Elizabethan period, so I had a gorgeous Andrew Logan mirrored crown to appear for Kerry Packer and my crinoline collection. And from there on, we went to India, and I introduced Andrew to India, and it was there that we were, Andrew thinks of everything, and we're in the middle of a lake in Srinagar, and he hands me an Easter egg, and there's all different boats popping up and down, and with newspapers, and we buy a newspaper, and it says England at war. And I said, who are they at war with? Belgium, France? No. The Falkland Islands were and Argentina, and we couldn't work out why we'd be at war with something like that. So that was the first of our great experiences. Then I have wonderful memories. Then I have to put my glasses on. My writing's so terrible. I have to put my glasses on. So we've done sketching trips all around the world. We went to Morocco in one winter, and we stood there in the freezing cold sketching. We'd been to China doing drawings, and then when I was designing the pearl fishers, I was offered a trip to India for an audience of something like 50 million to judge Miss India, and I said, well, is there a fee? They said, no, but we're flying you first class. So I said, well, I need someone to come with me. So Andrew and I went around Sri Lanka and looked at the things there. When Andrew had a wonderful, wonderful studio right by the river in London, full of exciting things, and we used to go there for parties, and it was always very exciting, and he had a wonderful big mirrored pyramid, but the place wasn't heated, and this was London in the winter, so we'd try and dress up as if we were in evening dresses and then dance around the pyramid. When Andrew lost the building went up in flames, and Andrew had nowhere to work, and he worked first of all in a space at the back of my house, and then up on the rafters doing those wonderful portraits, and his portraits of me and Lynn Seymour, the ballerina, are in the National Portrait Gallery, and one of Divine is in Baltimore. I've been lucky enough to take part and make his costumes for all the wonderful alternative Miss Worlds, where we've shared experiences, and we've had amazing experiences like going as king and queen in an ice palace for Mont Blanc pens, and I introduced him to Divine, that you will see was a wonderful influence. And it's through Andrew that I also have my own fashion and textile museum, because he lived around the corner and he said, there's this warehouse going, and I said, do you think I'm made of money? And he said, but you've saved all your clothes, you must have it. So through him I've done that, and I just think now you'll find that his work is an experience that you're never going to forget, and once you've seen it, it will influence your life forever. And I will now get Andrew for you.
Thank you, Sandra. Well, thank you very much for all being here tonight. And we've got lovely displays here of some of my work. Because the thing about my work is you'll see pictures, but you won't get the energy. So we'll just go around and hopefully you'll pick up a bit of energy on the way.
Oh, well, they give you energy, you see. Look,
Yes.
covered in it.
This is actually a clock, this one I'm
We
wearing.
thought we'd just leave the lights on just for a minute before Andrew starts his talk, so you just get a chance to see the jewellery.
Wonderful.
I couldn't live without it.
No. Well, thank you for the introduction, Sandra. It was wonderful.
Oh, was it all right?
I feel I don't have to say anything now. We can all go home.
Oh, I didn't. And also, when I used to do my huge shows in London, you always did all the sets for me.
Yes.
Putting it all together
Yes.
just like that, like he does for his amazing alternative Miss Worlds. Are they going to come down? Oh, yes, they're just
Yes.
getting a little look. But maybe for the talk afterwards, they can see them closely.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there'll be the talk afterwards.
And we've been on wonderful trips, like when we've been around the markets in India, buying the jewels,
Yes.
and then carrying the hand luggage back.
Oh, yeah. The rocks was the best in Morocco. We decided to buy rocks. They have these rock shops in the Atlas Mountains. And, well,
those- do you
we had
remember-
bags of rocks to take back to London.
They're in my house now, around
Yes.
the dining room table. And then I've got a wonderful portrait. I've got the portrait from the National Portrait Gallery in my apartment.
Yes.
And then a huge portrait of Gandhi that's to die for. And a
Wonderful.
chandelier.
So you'll see some of this tonight. So I call my life an artistic adventure. My life has been an artistic adventure. So that's what you're going to see tonight.
And
And
I'm going to let you have your artistic adventure.
thank you, Sandra.
They've nearly gone all round.
Yes,
And
wonderful.
I'll see you later.
Lovely. Oh, nice talkers. Hello, hello. Oh, we're ready. So I'm going to go through a series of pictures. It's not all my work by any means, but it's just a little hint of the work over the years. I mean, I actually studied as an architect in Oxford and graduated in 1970. And that was the beginning, really. I've been working virtually every day ever since. And so what you're seeing is sculpture and jewelry. Now this one is actually this was my room when I was a student, my fourth year at architecture, and I decided to transform the room. So it's a paper mache daffodil with a light in it, and grass, and then I made an outfit to match the wallpaper. This was when I left college. I was asked to partake in an exhibition at the Institute of Contemporary Arts called 10 Sitting Rooms. We were given £100 each, and we went off and did our environment. I actually made I brought the countryside to London. So it had a horse as a settee, and a cocktail cabinet covered in grass, and a wind-up record player, and clouds made of cotton wool. You've got to remember, this is 1970s, so it was pretty... Oh, this one's very early. Palm tree, little palm tree made of plaster, yoo-hoo, and carpet tiles. Oh, this was commissioned by a banker. This is early 70s. He had Napoleonic tendencies. So he was very keen on eagles. So in fact, it was actually a taxidermy bird that I stretched the wings and covered it in mirror. These are small flowers. The one on the left is at my sister's house, and it has a light in it, and the one on the right is a bird bath. Biber. Biber was this institution in London in the 70s, Barbara Hunaniki and Fitz, and they asked me to create a garden for them on the roof of the building. And I created huge 15-foot irises, which was a fountain, but I'm afraid to say it leaked. So they had, in the kitchens, they were forever putting out pots to catch the drips. But I did big red roses. The whole idea was that nature would devour the sculpture. But sadly, mankind stepped in, and Biber was closed down, and the property developers came in and demolished everything, including my sculpture. Oh, and here we are. Yes, this is there you can see the flowers. And this is me in my outfit that Barbara made for me, posing in the garden. And I did want to do I had a huge black rose which was going to go out on the outside of the building overlooking the high street. But I think Barbara, as she said, she felt that perhaps that was pushing it a bit too far because it might have fallen on somebody's head. Here it is. More, so now...
Exactly 150 years after John Constable painted the cornfield, an extraordinary crop of wheat comes to a gallery in Whitechapel. Made of aluminium tubing and glass fibre, it's the work of Andrew Logan. Bizarre yet fascinating, the glass figures keep the subject constantly alive. The 30-year-old artist, an energetic extrovert, is an extension of his own works. There's an exquisite beauty in the sparkling butterflies. The detail discloses the tremendous work involved. A new trend in art? Perhaps we'll be seeing more of Andrew Logan and his unusual sculpture. However, the chill winds of winter are still grim realities.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 1976. And in fact, this year in Buckland Abbey, a National Trust property, we're going to revive Goldfield. I've kept it over all these years. I've had it in the roof, in a garage, and I've kept it all. The butterflies have disappeared, and the mice, I'm having to make more mice, which I recently actually purchased in Los Angeles, in San Diego with Sandra. And so that's going to be revived this year, so that's a wonderful thing that's going to happen. And here it is, at the top of the Whitechapel Art Gallery. And the reason I did Goldfield, I was asked I could do anything, and it's because at that time there was a lot of light coming in from the roof, so I wanted to do an environment that was where you looked at the top. So, and the next one is Reflections, Patrick Seal Gallery. The piece on the left, the huge safety pin, is called Homage to a New Wave and was collected by the Arts Council and is in their collection. But I decorated, it was a horrid gallery, it was all Hessian. So I decided, I just got some paper and tape and made a Mondrian room, and then put all my lovely mirror things in it. Nike, yes, based on the Nike, which is in the Louvre. I've always loved wings. So this was a small figure about this big that I created. And this was photographed actually by my great friend Robin Beach, the late Robin Beach, outside Westminster, near Houses of Parliament. Oh, we're now leaping forward to Egypt Revisited. Went to Egypt in 1977. The Russians had left, and the place was kind of empty, and it was remarkable. The colors and just everything about Egypt it was bigger and bolder and more beautiful than I could ever imagine. So I came back and I created an exhibition over 1 year called Egypt Revisited. And it's a Sono Lumiere, 25-minute show. And it was at first held in the circus tent in Clapham Common. And this is the alternative Great Pyramid, which is covered in white glass, painted white glass, and it all folds up. It's portable. We actually photographed it on the beach in the south coast of England, and we borrowed Sandra's van to take it down. These are just some details, yes. Nefertiti, my self-portrait. Oh, and then the lady on the right, she's smoking a cigarette and getting married to a crocodile. There's this time, I started to make jewelry in 1972. This is 6 years later, but so I did a whole Egyptian collection inspired by the trip. And this was working with Robin. So we had these sessions where we just, Vivian was a well-known model, so we just dress up and just do it. And that was the shot. And this is another shot with Celia Birtwell's fabric and scarabs. Oh yes, this is a swing scarab, which I believe is in California now. And the net of frames, when you go to Egypt, it's huge. And I had this funny little camera. So what I did was I just took lots of pictures and fitted them together. And it was the infancy of Xerox as well, so I used a lot of Xerox. So a lot of these pictures are Xerox, and there you can see some. Yes, that's Abu Simbel, and that looks like Giza. This is me taking a royal dip in Beverly Hills. This was the actual crown that I took around the world with Sandra when we went to Australia and India. This was a beautiful studio I had in sort of East London. And it was a glass, I think it was actually used as a studio before they go into Hollywood. I think that's what happened. East End of London, they used to have these spaces which they would cover in glass, because this didn't have anything for a greenhouse. And this is Scarlet on top of Pegasus, which is my first monument to hope. And here is Pegasus, and he's built, he's inspired by the horse from the horses of San Marco, and the wings were inspired from a little painting by Dürer. And I love this picture. It's a sculpture of the elements. You can see the water and the air and the earth. This is a very popular suicide place, but the next one, the cosmic egg. I was asked by the GLC if I would create something to represent peace. Every year, they don't do it anymore, but they used to have this parade in London. And the ladies used to wear wonderful Easter bonnets, and they would do a parade around Battersea Park. And when we had a Greater London Council, they used to do it every year. But sadly, that custom has disappeared. But I created this cosmic egg, which has all the whirling galaxies on its surface. It's kind of, the cosmic egg is where we've come from and where we're going. And it's all these galaxies float inside the primordial ocean. And this is in Portland Bill, which was a wonderful place where the Portland stone comes from, Portland Place in London. And we put the cosmic egg up there. So you could see this wonderful little egg, 2 miles away, just glinting, in just like a little sparkle on the landscape. I went to India with Sandra in 1982. She took me there, and again, it was an outstanding experience. Bowled me over, and for me, it was like going home. There was color and smell, and I mean, all the senses. If you go to India, all your senses, forget them. You have to start all over again. And this is what I did. So I created a series of goddesses, which was held at the Commonwealth Institute, which was then in London. I believe is now the Design Museum. And this is, on the left, is the birth of existence, a 28-foot mobile, and in its center, in the Saturn and the other planet, I'd been working with holography in the 80s. So it was really, holography was in its infancy then. So it was a wonderful time. And usually what happens is with a hologram, you have to move left or right. So I thought, well, if I put it in a mobile, then it'll move and you won't have to move at all. You'll just see it coming in and out of light. And I've still got this sculpture, but it's very large. It's 28 feet across. So there's not many places it fits. The Lulu fountain, based on a great friend of mine, Luciana Martinez, a wonderful painter who sadly died many years ago. And she's surrounded by the phases of the moon. And it's based on a Kali Shimanasta. So you've got the pink lotus, and then the water comes out of the neck. And with Kali, blood came out, and she had 3 maidens. Quite a lovely story. This one, the singing tree, yes. I was fascinated with technology, and at that time, well, I'd done a Aram Riley Lekor prayer. It was 1972. This is now 10 years later. And I made this tree which represented the relationship between man and nature in India. And did lots of portraits of my friends. You can see Galinda on the left, top left. She was responsible for Kinky Galinkis in London in the 80s, 90s. And my brother Richard on the right, who supported all the goddesses. Oh, and then at the bottom we have Goddess of the Void. There is a Goddess of the Void. I mean, it's a wonderful goddess. That's what I love about India. They have a goddess for everything. Even a tree, suddenly, or a tire, or anything. It becomes a goddess, which is so handy. And then again, we took some of the sculpture. This is the Goddess of the Void's sun and the moon. And Vivian again sat for us, and we did this series of pictures with the jewelry. So I did a whole collection of Indian jewelry as well. So I started to do portraits, when I was, it must have been, we'd had a fire in my studio and the whole thing had burnt down. So Sandra kindly took us in, and I was working in her attic at the time, and there wasn't a floor, so I had to sort of walk along a plank. But that's when I did the portrait of Sandra, and I also started doing these portraits, flat mirror portraits, which are extremely difficult to see in this context because you don't get the shine that you get in glass, of course. And this is a great friend of mine called Fenella Fielding, who, if you've ever seen Carry On Screaming, if you haven't, you ought to see it. You Google Carry On Screaming. She's in it. And this is Phyllis Cohen, a great makeup artist. And you can see her work on the left there. And that's all shadow. That was one of Robin's great pictures. And I did this portrait of her. As you can see in her earring, she's wearing herself. This Excalibur is another monument to hope and was made actually from the wing of Pegasus. When I was building the wing, I used a very heavy metal frame, which in fact it was too heavy, so I rejected it, but it was perfect for an Excalibur sword. And this was we put this in the river, right in the middle of the river, in the River Thames. And it looked wonderful there. It's great to have sculpture everywhere. You know, I love the idea of it just being everywhere. Now here we are, Pegasus Monument of Hope, Henley Festival. Yes, you might have heard of the rowing festival. Well, after that, friends of mine, they took it over as for classical concerts, and they also had a sculpture shows, of which I was asked to partake. So this is the Pegasus. He's quite handy because you can't see from this picture, but actually his tail unwinds, his head lifts off, and the wings lift off. So he just fits very handily into a little fan. Because my first studio in London was so small, I had a little door, so I had to make everything to fit through that door. It's quite a good thing to work to. Oh, the Andrew Logan Museum of Travelling Sculpture. Well, I opened in 1991. I opened a little museum in mid-Wales. I had a dream, really, of opening, because my work is about joy and celebration and about happiness. That's a very simple concept, but quite difficult to attain. And so I just wanted this place to be where people would go and enjoy it. And it works. I am in the middle of Wales. There's more sheep than people. It's a ridiculous place to have a museum, but there we are. That's where it is. So anytime you're passing through mid-Wales, you're more than welcome. And I decided to have this little travelling museum as well, so we can go to festivals as well and put in sculpture, as you see here. So I've lined the insides all red with sort of surreal figures and things, but there's enough room for little figures and portraits and things. And I don't know if you know, but mid-Wales is full of caravan sites. So I thought it'd be very good for this caravan then to go as their little museum. But it's never actually happened yet, but perhaps one day. Bernal Penhall, yes, winner of the Alternative Miss World 1991, based on air. A remarkable artist. You might have heard of Lee Bowery, well-known Australian performance artist and amazing artist, but they were contemporaries, and all that Bernal could do was transform himself. He couldn't do anything else. I tried to get him involved in film and theatre and the arts, but no, he just transformed himself. And this particular transformation was Miss Gale Force Wind, which won him the contest, actually. And so I wanted to really celebrate his genius, so I did this portrait. These portraits are done in clay. I do classic clay technique, and then I get them cast in white resin, and then I use this resin and glass on the top. The eyes I paint, I get little jewels that I take the back off, and then I paint little eyes inside. And that's another of his costumes. Oh, the Body of Light, yes. This is quite a combination. The tree is from Berriew. The actual spine, so to speak, is from Bali. And the face is from, and the panther is from Mexico. And the other one's an Art Deco mask. And I just started yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, actually. And so this was a way of expressing that. So it's called the Body of Light, because the particular form that I used, a lady called Donna Holloman, who's based in northern Italy, she wrote a book called The Body of Light. And it's about we are made up of light. So next one. Oh, Vogue. Oh my goodness, yes. This is the jewelry really being like a body adornment. I call this sculpture jewelry really because I insist that each piece is made by me. I have assistants who back and clean, but because to me, I don't do drawings. I just allow whatever's coming down from above or below, and I just sit down and start. And I think it's a real lesson for us all, really, that you get so much inspiration from just your previous works. And if you just have to work every day, and as you work through that, other things appear. It's quite magical. I mean, it's a very privileged life. And she was wonderful, actually. She was a singer. She wasn't really a model, but she was quite remarkable. And so there you are. There's the little crown, yes. I love doing little crowns. I do lots of little crown. I do all the Alternative Miss World jewels as well. which I perhaps will see later. The Universe of Smiles. I first did this in Hanover for the Basic Needs Pavilion. A great friend of mine, Rajiv Sethi, had been asked to do it, and I created this universe of smiles. So you can see in the picture there's the world of smiles, and then there's the sun of smiles, and then there are the stars with smiles, and on your left is the great omnipresent smile. And then on the right are hundreds of little smiles making up a rainbow. In fact, it was interesting, the little smiles were made in southern India on an ashram. It was quite extraordinary, but they did. Oh, here we are. Fenella again. My goodness, she's wonderful. This is the three-dimensional portrait of Fenella. I started doing these in the 80s again. So what I like to do is this particular one is she's sitting on you can see on a kind of globe. And the idea was that I was going to write in all her shows and and films, because she's done many films and shows and things, well-known actress. But she thought it was too much like an obituary, so we didn't do it. Oh, here we are, just down the road. Cosmic Egg American Visionary Art Museum. Yes, Rebecca Hofberger, the founder and director of the museum, loves my work, so she commissioned this to be in the plaza there. So you can, if you're in Baltimore in the Inner Harbor, I have a few pieces there. I've got a huge 16-foot figure of Divine that moves, that wobbles, and this cosmic egg, and then I've also got Black Icarus, which is hanging in the staircase. So this is really a small version of the one you saw earlier. And this next one is called The Wave in Guy's Hospital. My studio was next door to this hospital. It's underneath the Shard in London Bridge, and very near Sandra's actually. And they asked if I would do something for the foyer. It originally had the Black Icarus there, but Black Icarus got taken off to Baltimore, so I then created this, and it was just the time of the tsunami. So I made this kind of wave. It's like but it's also based on Pegasus's wing. So it's like a wing and a wave, but it's got gorgeous movement. And I think it cheers people up. I think it's very important to have lovely things that cheer people up. So next one. Yes, the cosmos within. I'm very fortunate that I do a lot of my major works are in India, and this being one of them, one of the first. And it's based on the lingam, actually, and it's 25-foot truncated cone. And inside, I created the cosmos again. So it's like walking inside the cosmic egg. So you can see all those, the galaxies and exploding stars, and it's lit as well. There's the one on the right you can actually see at the top, and there's a mobile there that, again, with stars and moons. And it's very interesting because of the shape of the cone. You know, you can get a cacophony of sound, you know. Well, funny enough, this is one of the few times where actually visually you get a cacophony of vision. It's when you look up and you see this thing moving, everything kind of, you have to sit down actually. And next one. These are quite recent. These are 5 foot tall, and Pegasus, and they represent life, birth, and death, the red, the white, and the black. And this is in my old studio, the Glass House. Vogue's 90th. I did a collection for Ungaro in Paris. I was quite flattered because the particular designer then loved my work, so he went off and actually created pieces from mine. So he created garments from my jewelry, which was very flattering. It was quite an insight into the world of couture, I must say. I don't know if I want to go there again, really. But Never mind. But I did do this lovely 90th birthday for them. It was they had a shop then in Bond Street in London, and I created this happy birthday for Vogue. Oh, and here we are, artist and sculpture. This is Roy Brown, and there's Black Icarus, and it's wonderful. They have him, if you can go to the museum, he's there. They have him on a wire, so he goes up and down and round and round. Very beautiful piece, actually. Very nice. Oh, Bride of the Elements. Oh yes, I was asked by Swarovski they do something called Runway Rocks, I think. They've done it for years, and they asked me if I would do one. I think it was in Los Angeles they showed this one. So you can see the headdresses. So I did the elements. You've got the headdress, which is fire, and then you've got air, and then she's got water. She's got raindrops falling from the clouds, and then her shoes, her very glamorous shoes, are earth. It's a very glamorous thing. And then you can see her stick, which, interestingly enough, is made up from the Swarovski taps, the tap pieces. Oh, here we are. Oh, time for the supermodel. Ray, who runs Comme des Garçons, chose characters from London, Dougie Fields, and a painter, Sebastian Horsley, who's now deceased, but a performance artist, and Michael Kostiff, who ran Kinky Galinkis and had a shop called World. Well, they all have very different looks. So she came and she visited us, and she created looks around around us. And this was in Paris, in fact. And I'm sort of in the Indian style, as you can see. So they all have a hat and a big jewel. And this one is, again, more. But I was disappointed, actually, because she doesn't use natural materials. So that suit I'm wearing was polyester, and it was like wearing a boiler suit. It was hot. But very nice, lovely cuts and things. But Maria Callas. I had done this at the Royal Opera House I was visiting in Covent Garden. I'd just done a huge portrait of George Schulte, the conductor. I was friends of his, and I did this great big portrait, which we were hanging in the Covent Garden at that time. And I happened to see this little catalogue, and they were doing an exhibition of Maria Callas jewellery that she'd worn in her operas over the years. And I just fell in love with this image. And this is a huge piece. It's 9'6" tall. The glass, that's the diamonds and thing, the way I do it is they're actually chandelier crystals that I then back in mirror and then set into the resin. So it's becomes some great big diamonds. It's very Amy Winehouse, is it? Yes, I keep thinking of that one. Oh, look who it isn't. Now, I'd been to New York, and I visited the Neue Museum, where they would put on display the most expensive painting in the world, and that being the Klimt at that time. And I came back to London, and I showed it to Sandra, and she said, "Oh, I need another portrait." So here we are. It's 8 foot square. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels, and it's quite a marvelous piece, actually. And so it's based on Klimt, and I got Sandra, which is interesting. You can see the patterned cloak. I gave her the glass, and then she screen printed the back of it, and then I painted it. I do love collaborations. You know, I think it's so wonderful that artists should really work more and more together. As Sandra mentioned, Brian Eno, I've done a lot of work with him on sculptures. He's set music to a lot of my sculptures, and we had a great big show in Italy called Monuments and Music in the 80s. Ruthin Craft Centre. Yes, this is a wonderful craft centre right in North Wales, and they very luckily got a great big grant, and they created a new arts craft centre. And I was the initial artist to start the new centre off. So you can see the Pegasus at the bottom, and then we've got Burnell's portraits on the left top. Oh, and there on the right top is one of the 4 flowers of the apocalypse. And that actually has music by Brian inside the pots. I had this friend, and he kept saying, you must do the horsemen of the apocalypse. And then I looked it up, and I thought, oh, no, I can't do that. So I thought, here we go, we'll do the 4 flowers of the apocalypse. So there we are. This is in Delhi, and this is interesting. If one's been to India, a place quite near the airport, Gargaon, used to be full of mustard seed fields and palm trees and parrots. It was idyllic. Well, now it looks like Manhattan twice over. It's huge. It's all gone. And this is in the Leela Hotel, and so I made a piece commemorating that fact. And actually, those things on the walls, they're flying bananas. And then my friend Marjeev, he wrote a poem about the demise of the palm trees and everything, and that's written in those buildings. Oh, I wonder if you have them here, but these charities, this was the pink elephant. I think I did the cow as well, and they're called the Cow Parade, and the pink, so they raise money for charity. So I was given this little elephant, which I gave earrings and I think it's a bracelet and things. And that's in my glass house. You can sort of get a glimpse of the glass roof. 2,500 square feet of glass. This one has Globies. Chennai, now Madras, this is. And I was asked if I would do an installation there. The whole place is filled with sculpture dedicated to the bee. But my particular piece is 45 foot across, and it goes from the 5th to the 2nd floor. And these huge structures come out from the balconies, and then in between it are these bee trails, and it's basically the bees looking for the nectar in the concrete jungle. Here we are. This is very interesting. I work with a 3D architect in the office there. I called it my dungeon, because I was working in a car park for 6 months in the basement. But I created these huge pieces, which were created literally from just a few drawings, and then he 3D'd them, and then they were manufactured, and it was a wonderful process. Oh, my Auntie Maud. I was born and brought up in a small market town called Witney, near Oxford, on the edge of the Cotswolds. They were famous for blankets. We used to trade with the Indians. You might know the blanket. It had yellow, black, and red, I think, stripes. And that was the Witney blanket. Anyhow, my Auntie Maud was a big churchgoer, I think 50 years, and so they have this annual show, and so I took her along, and we put her up. And then we whisked from Witney to the Kenilworth Hotel in Goa, where I go a lot. So this piece was made in 4 quadrants, and it's difficult. It's stained glass, but the insets is mirror. So the idea was that if it was lit properly, the mirror would then, like this, what I'm doing, you see, reflect all the light. But sadly, they never lit it properly, but it still looks wonderful there. I visited it this year. Oh, the library. Clapham Library. I entered a competition for this. And it was basically a sculpture to be outside it was a liaison between the council and private. So the council wanted a library, which they got, and the developers wanted flats, which they got. But so I proposed this huge installation. Here we are you can see LIBR, yes. But also it's the same colors as the rainbow, funny enough. So on the back, you've got the red, the orange, the yellow, the green. And then on the front, you've got Mirror, which faces the street. And then in between, there's a kind of river of a small, not too wide. But in that, I collected stuff from the community. So people's toothbrushes and telephones and watches and everything. So the idea was that when people, because it's a community place, the library, so it's when people come, they can say, oh, look, there's my watch, or there's my plate, or there's grandma's teeth or something. So, and it's worked beautifully. It still is, hasn't been vandalized, and it becomes quite a wonderful collecting place. People congregate around it, and because you can sit on the things, and this at the same time, on the other side of the road was a health centre, and I proposed this huge heart, which you can see here being constructed, and then on the right you can see its installation. But like all these things, it looks fabulous, but it's not lit properly. I think it's too high, and so when people walk in, I don't think they even notice it, because it's which is a great pity, really, because it's a fabulous piece. By the way, I am my own fan, my greatest fan. I think there's not much point otherwise. Oh, here we are, another charity. Zandra and a lovely milliner called Piers Atkinson. We created a tuk-tuk. These are from India, and they're little three-wheeler taxis. And this one is wonderful. I'd still have this wonderful image because it was bought by a couple who lived on Dartmoor, which is a very wild place in Devon, a real wild. And they send their children off every day in this little tuk-tuk off to school. So I imagine this going across this moorland with this wonderful, bright little. We're the one on the right, by the way. I think you might have guessed. Oh, here's another one, the Double Helix, another charity. And this was out St. Paul. It was placed outside St. Paul's. And I called it was the Double Helix, and it was all about the universe. I don't know where that went. Oh, here we are, Zandra National Trust. We decorated a Christmas tree. Guess what, in pink. And then we had little see-through baubles that again, it was the community, they brought what they would wanted to hang on the tree, and then we put it inside the baubles. And then we did actually a performance around it as well. Very often I'll do jewelry performances, so a lot of this was worn by, so it has been models, but I liked everyone to wear it. Children, fat, thin, old, young, who cares, Here we are. This opened last year, and this is at the 45-foot long installation in Mumbai, in the new airport, which is quite an amazing place. So here you can see it's 23 portraits. I did people who formed India, like Gandhi and Satyajit Ray and Ravi Shankar, and there's freedom fighters there, and then the man who you can see holding a book, he's called Ambedkar, and he created the Constitution of India, except he's all in bright, mirrored suits and things. Oh, and then there's another one here. And she's a lady, I forget, she's a warrior lady, and she's holding a sword up. This is very recent. Manish Arora, I don't know if one knows of his work, but he's Indian. He was very global. I mean, he lives in Paris, he works in Delhi. I think his PR's from New York and his stylist is from London. So it's so international, which is wonderful. And I did a small collection for him, of which you can see the heart and the. Oh, that's my favorite, the fried egg. I love the fried egg. And then, yes, and that must be some of the models. Sadly, I wasn't able to get to the show. And then, of course, here we have the cosmic egg. Now, It's a wonderful piece, this, because it sucks in images around it. I call it rather like a black hole. And this is in the Museum of Modern Art in Machynlleth, which is a town in mid-Wales, West Mid-Wales, really going towards the coast. I haven't seen it myself yet because I've been in India for a few months and just come back, and now I'm here. So I shall see it when I get back. But it's a very important piece. This is when you go into our museum, it sits in the doorway. I'll turn to Miss World.
Hello, welcome. I'd just been to Cruft's dog show, got rather inspired, and thought I would do the alternative Miss World.
Everyone came.
The whole world and their brother was there.
There was David Hockney, David Bowie's wife. David was going to come, but he couldn't get in.
Divine. I love London.
It had become the place to be seen.
I come as the host and hostess, split down the middle.
One of the most decadent scenes I've ever seen. Carol Baker in a white fox coat which someone vomited over. There were definitely people having sex.
Oh, blowjobs were everywhere.
I lost my virginity there. It was great fun.
Entertainment and modern art.
It's the weirdest collection of creatures you've ever seen.
It was like a polished version of Dark Rousseau's.
You can transform yourself to anything.
Mashed potato for day wear, for evening wear she was a giant chip.
1 year a robot won it.
In beach wear she had a diver's helmet.
Another year an old lady of about 80 won it.
Her hobbies are fishing and shitting glitter.
Whatever you see, there'll be a band dressing like that in 18 months' time.
People love it when you dress up for a party because it makes the party nicer for them.
Incredible!
Disgusting. Fantastic.
It's nuts. That's what showing off is about.
Oh, spectacular, my goodness. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. No. I've done 14 or 13 of them, so I'll go whizzing through if I may. This is the first one, Miss Yorkshire. And that was my studio actually on the left. I slept there and it was my bed. This was the early, taken this picture by Mick Rock actually. And this is the first. So here, 73, Miss Rita Ritz, yes. This would be David, so it's... I call it a surreal art event for all-round family entertainment. It is. No rehearsals. Oh yes, this was the 75, yes, Miss Babylon, amazing. This was my studio in Butler's Wharf, down by Tower Bridge. And this is with the circus tent. We had Egypt revisited, and then we got rid of it, and then we did Alternative Miss World. So this is it here. I come as a circus master and the bareback rider. And then the winner was on a donkey. The only thing is the donkey fell off the catwalk onto the contestants. So there we are. Oh, here we are, unveiling Divine and myself, unveiling at the premiere of the Alternative Miss World movie at the Odeon, Leicester Square. Oh, and then at the bottom, you can see him, we were in the Rothschild coach. He was in the purple outfit. We had good fun, you might see. Royal Imperial. Oh, yes, in 1881. This is where the catwalk was 250 feet long. And it finished at 3 in the morning. They'd turn the electricity down, the music down, the heating down, and most people had gone home. But that was Miss Aldershot who won, which was just before, the year before the Falklands War. And he went up in a cherry picker. That was the throne. Water, yes. This is 85. He, in fact, Balco on the right, had broken his leg, actually, so he was on crutches. It was remarkable, really. Oh, Stephen Jones in the middle. Yes, Luciana. This was fabulous, this water one. The whole backdrop was a waterfall. And I came out and I just went like this, and the whole waterfall came down, and all these fountains came up. It was so spectacular. There's Miss Rosa Bosom, yep. Universe. We've leapt to 2004. This was held in the Hippodrome in London, which is now, I think, a casino. But at the time, it was just on its last legs as a club. Miss Nigeria and the Russians. Oh, and Norman Rosenthal on the right. He was then head of the Royal Academy, so it was quite a, I'm not sure if he was Sir then or not, but it was quite a brave thing to do. This is the winner, Miss Secret Sounds of Sunbird Rising, CCP. Yes, the Russians. The Russians are very good at, they understand the alternative Miss World. And they have such fun, actually. They're really great imagination. The Elements, 2009. The Roundhouse, which is a well-known venue in London. And this is Zandra's, all these ones you're looking at are Zandra's ladies' half, and Whitaker and Malem on the male half. So here we've got some more contestants. That's my sister on the right. She's entered every competition and never won. That's the Russians on the left. And I think that's Daniel Lismore on the right. Oh, and the wonderful people in the middle are the Maypole dancers. They came and danced around the Maypole. It was wonderful. The winner, yes, Miss Fancy Chance, who actually, she won because she came in this evening wear, which was, she was wheeled in. It was this huge crinoline, and the crinoline opened up, and then she suddenly went up by her hair, and she just floated above everybody. Yes, Ultimate Miss World 2009. Neon Numbers, this is the present one, the last one, but I'm doing one hopefully next year. This was held at Shakespeare's Globe. This lady here couldn't, I forget her name, but she was wonderful, but she's paraplegic, she couldn't do anything, but she entered Alternative Miss World. Oh, there's my sister on the right. I can't think why she couldn't win. Miss Zero Plus from Russia, Sasha Fravlova. It was like a marriage made in heaven, though, in Shakespeare's Globe. It just worked so beautifully. Grayson Perry and myself and Miss Zero Plus. Oh, is that it? Oh, I think that's it. Well, that was a non-stop tour, wasn't it? My goodness. But that's only half. That's not even half of it. I'd love to show you more, but the green light is on. I think the next is we're going to adjourn to another room for questions and answers and all those lovely things. And the jewelry will be there so you can have a look.
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Beautiful. Please do, folks, join us in the screening room right now. The jewels on the trays will be there too, and Andrew has some programs and other paperworks as well. See you in a moment.